Hey everyone, Lauren here with a fun little grid take on using this patchwork paper from Paige Evans, part of the June kits that we got from Kitaholics. So I'm just going to cut down the strips of the pattern patchwork paper and then I'm going to have a little play with it. So I did put this paper aside thinking of grid. There was going to be a few different ways I can use it. In fact, I do have some squares left that I probably could make some other designs, so I did think about cutting them into squares and then cutting them into triangles, using the triangles and in a different pattern. Instead, I think about using them across and making the layout. So I do pull out these three little embellishments that I put aside when I was planning, or generally planning. I guess I didn't fully plan the layout, I just had some thoughts, and when it come to creating, that's where I pulled things together and worked out exactly how it's going to look. And you can see now I'm cutting down the squares, but they're not all going to be the same alignment. So some are individual, some are 2s and 3s, and some are 5 across connected. So I've got the 3 rows here. I'm going to overhang some of them, not too many, off the paper. And I just like how this is coming together, a bit of fun and whimsy. I am going to rough up all the edges and put them, when I adhere the little squares, I'm going to just put the tape in the middle, which means that it'll come out textured. Now I don't mind this one. I do love how that love sits on 2 little squares and is a nice little border to it. And I like that life lately scripty word. I think it just fits in nicely in terms of size, but also not overwhelming. I do consider adding pattern paper to the background rather than the white background, but it was going to be too busy with the pattern papers that I had left, so that was a no. I'm just using my distress tool, and the beauty of not cutting them all down to the one little 2x2 squares is that there's not a million edges to distress. And I'm trying to work out if this photo will work, and those photos could work in terms of size, could probably fit in one little square each, but I don't like the fact that it wasn't focused enough. So instead I pull out 2 of these little photos of my eldest making carrot cake a long time ago. And I'm going to have a little section in the middle that's going to be the focus of those photos rather than being overwhelmed by the colours in the background. I do layer them with 2 rows of 3 squares, and as you see I already cut them. So what I do is I distress the edges and join them together in the middle, and you probably can tell if you look strong, look in detail, what's the phrase? Anyway, you know what I'm saying. Anyway, I'm going to distress these. I don't make you watch all that because that was crazy. But you can see here, just going to put them together and I'm going to focus on gluing. So I do show you the gluing just because it's just a little bit of double-sided tape and sticking down, but they change a little bit in position, so I thought it might be interesting to keep. I'm going to back my photos on some white cardstock just to add a little border to make that doable without covering up all the pattern paper background. I do cut the photos down a little bit. Sorry, I'm just cutting out the white cardstock of the border. I don't know why I didn't put that on screen. I feel a bit rusty with filming this month, but hopefully I will get my mojo back. So that little pink piece that's to the right of life lately is a bit of the border strip. So that was nice. It worked the perfect size, the perfect amount to just fit in that little spot and still fit in with all the patterns going on. So you can see joining those 2 rows there, you can't barely tell. And I started with this line first so that I can make sure my photos fit in rather than being lost in all the pattern squares. So I did distress the embellishment love so that it could sit up on there and be part of that layer. Now I'm just having a little play with the positioning. I didn't want them all lined up so that they were all a bit uniform. One, because I'm no good at straightness in terms of lining up pieces of pattern paper and cutting straight. And two, it just looks a bit more fun to have it overlapping in the lines of the pattern paper and have it all a bit different so that there's things to look at. So on it goes. I'm going to overlap that blue one, so I'm going to cut that. Do quickly just align some of the other ones. Again, the middle row, or the second row up the top there, is just a whole 5 rows of squares not cut, which makes 1, easy to texture, 2, it's a nice big grouping of pattern paper, and 3, very easy to manipulate and put down. And then the top row is going to be a mixture of 2 single squares and then this 3 row of 3 squares. You can see here, this is where I really get stuck with not positioning lines above each other so that they were straight again like they were on the pattern paper. Cut off that blue, and you can see here I've got a line down the bottom of white space, and that makes it all top heavy, and just, I didn't want to put a whole row of squares down and just be all off cut, but instead, while I'm thinking about it, I just outline the squares. Some have got dotted lines and some are full lines, and then I look to my left and reminded by this border strippy kind of paper which has a few different borders in thickness and pattern, and decide to rip one of those ones down to add to the bottom of the page to fill in that white space and just be another pop of colour. And a pop of pattern, really, because they're all different, right? So I am going to finish off with some little bit of embellishments. You could definitely leave it like this. It doesn't, it works well in fact that it's got a lot going on for it. But I just thought it'd be nice to add in a few different pops of embellishments. So I'm just going to put some things here and there, starting with the stickers. And that way, as your eyes scan around the page, you can have a little bit of a rest and have a look at different things. Thank you, Oliver. Ollie just brought me a hot chocolate. Oh. And then my phone rings. How terrible. So yeah, just adding these on. You can see how they just fit nicely in the squares. They don't need to be too overwhelming. In the fact that all the squares are different patterns means that they kind of fit in nicely without deterring your eye to just one little spot. I do add this little embellishment cluster down the bottom of the photo just to remind everyone that's looking at the layout that my photo is the focus. And then my title, Life Lately, and I find this beautiful flower die cut, and it's going to nestle so well in there, like I planned it, or like the company who made the die cuts planned it. I just can't believe how perfect it fit. So on with a few different little pieces. I do try to move the sticker. Again, this sticker didn't come off the sticker sheet properly, so I did have to glue it. I'm going to add this little ladybug. That's the only one that I overlap, I think, and that's partially because it needed to have something with that word. I do pull in some of the puffy stickers just because there's a cute couple of butterflies. Overlap these hearts because, do you notice, I love overlapping hearts together. They work so pretty. Very lovely. Just going back to see what else I need. There was that die cut butterfly from the kit, from the embellishment pack. And then we have some lovely phrases that fit in with what's going on. I'm going to add 2 to the top of the photo and 2 to one of the squares up the top. Or 3 to the photo because I pull out one of these black ones. And the black one to the top of the rainbow as well. Anyway, I'm just going to have a little bit of a fiddle with just a few different embellishments just to finish it off, and then decide that that's enough and call it a day. Hopefully you're gone going to get some creativity happening. And if hopefully you've enjoyed this layout. Thanks guys, bye.